Welcome to Bedtime True Crime, the YouTube channel that takes you on a haunting exploration of the world of true crime, serial killers, and unsolved mysteries. Join us as we journey into the shadows, unearthing spine-tingling tales that will keep you awake at night. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss another thrilling episode. Now get comfortable, turn off the lights, and prepare to be captivated by the sinister side of human nature as we delve into today's bone-chilling story. On a bitterly cold December night in 1978, the once tranquil atmosphere of suburban Chicago was shattered as young Robert Piest disappeared without a trace after leaving his workplace. Unbeknownst to the residents, this seemingly ordinary event would soon unveil the horrifying truth behind one of America's most notorious serial killers, John Wayne Gacy. As we journey back to the quiet, tree-lined streets of Chicago during the late 1970s, we find ourselves transported to a time when trust and community were still held in high regard. Neighbors greeted each other with warm smiles, children's laughter filled the air as they played freely on their front lawns, and doors remained unlocked without a hint of fear. Yet concealed beneath this idyllic facade festered a darkness so malevolent that it would forever alter the lives of those who crossed its path. Upon first glance, John Wayne Gacy appeared to be the epitome of a hard-working family man. He owned a thriving construction business called PDM Contractors and was well-liked within his community for hosting grand parties and donning the persona of Pogo the Clown at charity events. However, behind the closed doors of his seemingly ordinary home, Gacy harbored a bone-chilling secret, one that would soon come to light with the vanishing of young Robert Piest. In today's spine-tingling episode, we will delve deep into the twisted psyche of John Wayne Gacy while unraveling the gruesome details surrounding his heinous crimes. Brace yourself for shocking revelations that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the depths of human depravity. And stay tuned until the end for an unexpected twist that will have even the most seasoned true crime enthusiasts gasping in disbelief. As we embark on this chilling journey, prepare to be immersed in a world of deception and horror, where the sinister underbelly of society lurks just beneath the surface. In the shadows, a predator lies in wait, ready to strike and forever change the lives of those who dare to venture too close. The air is thick with tension and anticipation as we begin to unravel the terrifying truth behind the disappearance of Robert Piest and the monstrous acts of John Wayne Gacy. As the sun dipped below the horizon on December 11, 1978, Robert Piest clocked out of his job at the bustling Nissan pharmacy in Des Plaines, Illinois. The bright-eyed and ambitious teenager had dreams of soaring among the stars as an astronaut someday. But for now, he was diligently saving up money for college by working part-time. On this fateful evening, he casually mentioned to his mother that he would be meeting with a contractor about a potential job opportunity before heading home, unaware of the sinister turn his life was about to take. This seemingly innocuous encounter would prove to be anything but ordinary when hours ticked by without any sign of Robert's return. His frantic family reported him missing as an eerie darkness enveloped their quiet suburban neighborhood. As investigators began piecing together the events leading up to his disappearance, they discovered that the contractor Robert had planned to meet was none other than the seemingly upstanding John Wayne Gacy. The police paid a visit to Gacy's unassuming house under the guise of discussing business matters related to PDM Contractors. Upon entering his home, officers were immediately struck by an overpowering stench emanating from beneath the floorboards, a smell so pungent it made them gag involuntarily. Though they couldn't pinpoint its source at the time, this nauseating odor would later become synonymous with unspeakable horror lurking just beneath the surface. Despite their mounting suspicions, authorities lacked concrete evidence linking Gacy to Robert's disappearance and were forced to leave empty-handed. However, unbeknownst to them, this initial interaction marked the beginning of a cat-and-mouse game between law enforcement and one of history's most sadistic serial killers, a game where every second counted in uncovering the truth behind what happened to young Robert Piest. In these early stages of the investigation, detectives remained largely unaware of just how close they were standing on the precipice of pure evil. Yet each step forward brought them closer not only towards solving Robert's case, but also unearthing dozens more victims who'd fallen prey to Gacy's twisted desires over several years prior. As the clock ticked away and pressure mounted, investigators would soon find themselves racing against time to uncover a hidden world of depravity lurking just beneath their feet, as dark secrets threatened to shatter the illusion of their once safe community. As the investigation into Robert Piest's disappearance intensified, detectives found themselves delving into the dark corners of Gacy's past. They uncovered a disturbing pattern. He had previously served time for sexually assaulting a teenage boy and was suspected of other similar crimes. This chilling revelation prompted authorities to place Gacy under round-the-clock surveillance while they continued their search for evidence, each moment a race against time to prevent another tragedy. During this tense period, investigators made a startling discovery. Several young men who had worked for Gacy at his construction company had mysteriously gone missing over the years. As they dug deeper, they unearthed more connections between these disappearances and Gacy, including eyewitness accounts that placed him with some of the victims before they vanished without a trace. The chilling realization began to dawn on them. Could Gacy be responsible for more than just Robert's disappearance? With mounting suspicion but still lacking concrete proof, police obtained a warrant to search Gacy's home on December 13th. The stench from beneath the floorboards remained as overpowering as ever, a sinister harbinger of the horrors that lay hidden below. It wasn't until one brave officer ventured down into the crawl space beneath the house that the horrifying source of the smell would finally be revealed. As the officer crawled through the dark, damp earth below Gacy's residence, the beam of his flashlight illuminated a nightmarish sight: human remains partially buried in shallow graves. The grisly discovery sent shockwaves throughout law enforcement circles and confirmed their worst fears. John Wayne Gacy was not just an ordinary businessman. He was a cold-blooded killer responsible for multiple deaths. The painstaking excavation process commenced immediately as forensic teams carefully unearthed body after body from within the confines of Gacy's crawl space. Each new victim revealed another layer of horror in this chilling case. Young men whose lives were tragically cut short by a man they had trusted enough to work for or even consider a friend. But despite finding numerous bodies beneath his home, there was still no sign of Robert Piest among them. The unanswered questions surrounding his fate haunted investigators as they pressed on relentlessly in their pursuit of answers, determined not only to bring justice to those who had fallen prey to Gacy, but also to provide closure for families like Robert's, who clung desperately to the hope that their loved one might still be found alive. The investigators vowed to leave no stone unturned in their quest for the truth. As the gruesome excavation continued, shockwaves of terror rippled through the once trusting community. Neighbors who had once considered Gacy a friendly and upstanding citizen now recoiled in horror, realizing the atrocities that had taken place right under their noses. Whispers of fear and disbelief echoed through the streets as the idyllic facade of suburban life crumbled before their eyes. Meanwhile, investigators were still no closer to finding Robert Piest. Desperate for answers and driven by the need to bring closure to his family, they decided to interrogate Gacy himself, hoping that he might be willing to reveal information about Robert's whereabouts or provide some insight into his twisted motivations. During hours of intense questioning, Gacy finally confessed not only to killing Robert, but also to taking the lives of 32 other young men between 1972 and 1978. His chilling descriptions of how he would lure his victims with promises of work or friendship before sexually assaulting them, torturing them, and ultimately strangling them to death using a tourniquet-like device sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned investigators. Gacy showed little remorse as he recounted these horrific acts in graphic detail, even going so far as to refer to his crawl space as the mass grave, where he buried most of his victims. But despite this shocking confession, there was one piece of information that remained elusive: the location of Robert Piest's body. A gnawing sense of unease settled over the investigators, knowing that they were still missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. Determined not to let Gacy hold all the cards, investigators pressed on with their search efforts both inside and outside his home. It wasn't until April 9, 1979, nearly 4 months after Robert's disappearance, that they finally found what they were looking for. The decomposed remains of Robert Piest were discovered along the banks of the Des Plaines River, tragically confirming that he too had fallen victim to John Wayne Gacy's murderous rampage. With this heartbreaking discovery came an overwhelming sense of loss for those who knew and loved Robert, but it also marked a turning point in the case against Gacy. Now armed with irrefutable evidence linking him directly to multiple murders, authorities were finally able to bring one of America's most notorious serial killers to justice. Yet as they moved forward with their case, they couldn't help but wonder what other dark secrets might still be lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered in this twisted tale of terror. As the staggering extent of Gacy's heinous crimes unraveled, authorities were confronted with the monumental task of identifying the numerous victims. Many had been entombed beneath his home for years, their remains decayed and unrecognizable. Forensic experts labored relentlessly, utilizing dental records and innovative methods to restore names and identities to these lost souls. Families who had endured agonizing months or even years searching for their missing loved ones now faced the appalling reality that their beloved had succumbed to a monster concealed in plain sight. The community reeled, struggling to comprehend how such unspeakable acts could have transpired beneath their very noses. As investigators delved deeper into the chilling enigma of John Wayne Gacy's life, they uncovered evidence suggesting that his murderous tendencies may have been manifesting long before Robert Piest's vanishing. Former employees recounted eerie tales of Gacy's peculiar behavior, including inappropriate advances and disquieting remarks about death. Even more alarmingly, some remembered instances where young men would descend into the crawl space beneath Gacy's house, never to emerge again. These spine-chilling accounts painted a portrait of an increasingly unhinged individual whose dark desires were spiraling out of control, yet somehow managing to evade detection until it was tragically too late for numerous innocent lives. With each new revelation about Gacy's twisted past, a mounting sense of disbelief engulfed those who thought they knew him best. Friends, neighbors, and family members alike struggled to reconcile the image of the man they believed they knew with the sadistic killer responsible for inflicting so much pain and suffering. While nothing could ever restore those who had perished at Gacy's hands or erase the indelible scars etched on countless hearts by his actions, one crucial chapter in this harrowing tale remained, bringing John Wayne Gacy himself to justice for his monstrous deeds and unearthing the sinister truth that lurked beneath the surface of his seemingly ordinary life. The stage was set for a climactic confrontation between the forces of good and the embodiment of evil, as the pursuit of justice and closure for the victims and their families became an all-consuming mission. As the investigation into Gacy's heinous crimes intensified, authorities meticulously gathered evidence to build an ironclad case against him. The sheer scale of his atrocities demanded that every aspect of the crime scene be examined with painstaking precision, from the nightmarish crawl space beneath his home, where the majority of victims were entombed, to the other locations where he had callously discarded their bodies. Forensic experts played an instrumental role in this process, analyzing soil samples and studying decomposition patterns to determine the exact duration each victim had been buried. Their groundbreaking work revealed that some had been interred for years, while others had met their grisly fate only months before the investigation commenced. This chilling discovery sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned detectives. In addition, they examined fibers found on some remains, which matched materials used by Gacy in his construction business, further implicating him in these heinous acts. This crucial piece of evidence began to tighten the noose around Gacy's neck, leaving him with nowhere to hide. DNA analysis was still in its infancy during this time period. However, dental records proved invaluable in identifying many of Gacy's victims. By comparing teeth with missing persons reports and consulting with dentists who had treated these individuals before their tragic disappearances, investigators were able to put names to faces and provide closure for grieving families. As more harrowing details about Gacy's modus operandi emerged, it became apparent that he would often use handcuffs or rope to restrain his victims before subjecting them to unspeakable torture. This sadistic method allowed him complete control over their fate, while prolonging their suffering to unimaginable lengths. The extensive collection of physical evidence, combined with chilling witness testimonies and Gacy's own bone-chilling confession, painted an irrefutable picture of guilt. With all the pieces of the puzzle now firmly in place, prosecutors steeled themselves for what would become one of the most high-profile trials in American history, determined not only to secure justice for those whose lives were so cruelly taken, but also to send a powerful message that such evil acts would never go unpunished. As the trial loomed ever closer, the tension in the air grew palpable. Gacy's dark secrets were about to be laid bare for all to see, and the world would soon bear witness to the horrifying depths of his depravity. Little did they know, however, that even more shocking revelations were yet to come as the twisted tale of John Wayne Gacy continued to unfold. Here is the revised version of Part 7. As the families of Gacy's victims struggled to come to terms with their unimaginable loss, chilling stories began to emerge about those who had narrowly escaped his clutches. These survivor accounts provided a terrifying glimpse into the mind of a sadistic killer and offered invaluable insight for investigators seeking to understand his motivations. One such harrowing tale came from a young man named Jeff Rignall, who encountered Gacy in March 1978. Rignall was lured into Gacy's car under the pretense of sharing a joint, only to be rendered unconscious by chloroform, handcuffed, and taken back to Gacy's home. Throughout that horrifying night, he was repeatedly assaulted and tortured, each moment more excruciating than the last. Miraculously, Rignall survived this nightmarish ordeal after Gacy dumped him, still unconscious, in a nearby park. His bloodied and battered body was discovered by a passerby who rushed to his aid. Another near miss involved an employee of PDM Contractors named David Cram. After moving into Gacy's house as a boarder, Cram found himself attacked one evening when Gacy attempted to handcuff him, claiming it was all just part of a magic trick. Cram, who sensed the sinister intent behind Gacy's actions, managed to free himself before any further harm could come to him. He narrowly escaped the clutches of the monster that had hidden in plain sight. These harrowing tales not only highlighted how close some individuals had come to meeting the same fate as so many others, but also underscored the importance of bringing John Wayne Gacy to justice for his unspeakable crimes. As survivors shared their experiences with authorities and the media alike, they played an instrumental role in ensuring that no more lives would be lost at the hands of this remorseless predator. For every life tragically cut short by Gacy's actions, there were countless friends and family members left behind, each grappling with grief while trying to make sense of what had happened. Their courage in coming forward and sharing their loved ones' stories ensured that these victims would never be forgotten. Instead, they would serve as powerful reminders of both the fragility and resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable darkness. As we delve deeper into the twisted world of John Wayne Gacy, the haunting stories of those who narrowly escaped his grasp serve as a stark warning of the evil that can lurk within even the most seemingly ordinary individuals. With each harrowing account, the tension and suspense continue to build, leaving us on the edge of our seats, anticipating what horrifying revelations are yet to come. As the trial loomed, the layers of John Wayne Gacy's life peeled away, revealing a far more sinister figure than anyone had ever suspected. Born in Chicago on March 17, 1942, Gacy's childhood was marred by an abusive alcoholic father and a mother who fought desperately to shield her children from the violence. Despite these struggles, Gacy managed to create an illusion of success, marrying twice, fathering 2 children, and establishing a thriving construction business. Yet, lurking beneath this seemingly normal exterior was a deeply disturbed man with a long history of violent and predatory behavior. As investigators delved into Gacy's past, they uncovered a chilling pattern of sexual assault against young men dating back to the late 1960s. His first known attack took place when he was only 26 years old, but it was after serving time for sodomy charges in Iowa that his murderous spree truly began. Gacy's modus operandi was both calculated and cruel, luring unsuspecting victims to his home under false pretenses, then overpowering them with handcuffs or rope. Once rendered helpless, he subjected them to unspeakable torture, ultimately strangling them with a tourniquet-like device fashioned from cloth or rope. Psychological analysis suggested that Gacy suffered from multiple personality disorder, one side portraying the seemingly respectable businessman, while the other manifested as Pogo the Clown, a persona that reveled in sadistic acts of violence. This duality enabled Gacy to maintain his facade within society while simultaneously indulging his darkest desires behind closed doors. Throughout the trial, Gacy brazenly maintained his innocence, despite the overwhelming evidence against him and his own chilling confession detailing each murder. He even went so far as to claim that all the deceased individuals found beneath his house had been planted there by someone else seeking revenge against him. However, as more details about his twisted psyche emerged during the court proceedings, it became increasingly clear that John Wayne Gacy was responsible for these horrific crimes beyond any shadow of doubt. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the prosecution unveiled their case, piece by disturbing piece. Each revelation sent shivers down the spines of those present, as the reality of Gacy's hidden life came into sharp focus. As the trial unfolded, it became apparent that there was still much to be discovered about the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface of John Wayne Gacy's seemingly ordinary existence. As the manhunt for John Wayne Gacy reached its chilling conclusion, the pursuit of justice was only just beginning. With a mountain of damning evidence against him, including his own spine-tingling confession, Gacy's trial commenced on February 6, 1980, with the world watching in horror and anticipation. The prosecution meticulously presented their case, unveiling the extensive forensic findings, chilling witness testimonies, and harrowing survivor accounts that painted Gacy as a sadistic predator who preyed upon vulnerable young men. The defense attempted to argue that Gacy suffered from mental illness and should be found not guilty by reason of insanity. However, this claim crumbled under the weight of the overwhelming proof against him, leaving the courtroom holding its breath for the inevitable outcome. Throughout the trial proceedings, Gacy's cold indifference and defiance were unnerving. He often smirked or showed no emotion at all when confronted with the horrifying testimony about his heinous acts. This only served to further enrage those seeking justice for his victims, fueling their desire to see him pay for his monstrous deeds. On March 12th, after a mere 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict, guilty on all counts. As the courtroom erupted into applause and tears from the victims' family members, a semblance of closure finally descended upon those whose lives had been forever changed by Gacy's unspeakable crimes. Gacy was sentenced to death for each murder committed during his killing spree, a sentence that ensured he would never again have the opportunity to inflict harm upon others. As he spent 14 years on death row, those affected by his atrocities awaited the day when justice would finally be served. On May 10, 1994, Gacy was executed by lethal injection, marking the end of one of America's most notorious serial killer cases. In the aftermath of this horrifying ordeal, communities struggled to comprehend the evil that had existed within their midst. The haunting question of how such a monster could have hidden in plain sight continued to plague the minds of those affected by Gacy's crimes. Yet, through it all emerged a powerful message about resilience in even our darkest moments, and an unwavering commitment to seek justice for those who can no longer speak for themselves. As we approach the conclusion of this harrowing tale, remember that the pursuit of justice is never ending. The fight to ensure that no more lives are lost at the hands of such remorseless predators must continue. Stay tuned for the final part of this chilling story, where we delve into the lasting impact of Gacy's reign of terror and explore the lessons we can learn from this nightmarish chapter in history. As we conclude this harrowing tale of John Wayne Gacy's reign of terror, it is important to remember the lives that were tragically cut short by his actions. The courage and resilience shown by their families, survivors, and investigators serve as a testament to the strength of human spirit in the face of unimaginable darkness. The legacy left behind by this case has had far-reaching implications, from advancements in forensic science and DNA analysis to increased awareness about the importance of mental health care for those who've suffered trauma. It also serves as a chilling reminder that evil can lurk within even the most seemingly ordinary individuals, hidden beneath a veneer of respectability and charm. As you reflect upon this spine-tingling story, Let us never forget the victims whose voices have been forever silenced, but whose memories live on through our collective pursuit of justice. May their stories continue to inspire future generations to remain vigilant against such unspeakable acts and ensure that history does not repeat itself. That'll be all for this evening, fellow night owls. We love to hear your feedback, so if there's a notorious killer or sinister story you want us to cover, please let us know in the comments, which we check daily. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all our stories and allow us to continue telling our true crime tales.